as their very last act nears, the House January 6 hearings have advanced from documenting a stain on records to caution of a violent and tyrannical destiny that awaits if Donald Trump is permitted to once more unleash America's pent-up extremism. In the ultra-modern episode of its restricted season TV event, the House Pick-Out Committee on Tuesday traced Trump's hyperlinks to and notion for a long-way right-wing organizations that got here to Washington to assist his mob break its manner into Congress in early 2021. These had been the forces that heeded the ex-president's name to combat like hell to thwart President Joe Biden's election, along with the Oath Keepers Armed Forces and the Proud Boys he, as soon as told to stand again and stand by on countrywide TV. What else is he going to do if he receives elected once more? Former Oath Keepers spokesman Jason Van Tatenhove requested in the course of testimony wherein he warned that the ex-president could whip up a civil battle amongst his followers, the use of lies and deceit, if he launches any other marketing campaign for the White House in 2024. The state of affairs he increases is hardly ever hypothetical on account that Trump and his genuine believers by no means halted his attack on democracy. The former president is escalating his lies approximately non-existent voter fraud in 2020. He's salivating approximately any other presidential marketing campaign he could use as a brand new platform for his misinformation. Countless Republican applicants are strolling with inside the midterm elections on his lies approximately a stolen presidential election. Doubts Trump sowed approximately election integrity have triggered current showdowns over certifying consequences in New Mexico and Pennsylvania, and a barrage of nation legal guidelines that make it more difficult to vote and simpler to intrude in consequences. And the Trump wing of the Republican Party remains marching towards authoritarianism. For instance, the Conservative Political Action Conference has invited Hungarian strongman Prime Minister Viktor Orban, who rolled again judicial independence, press freedom and democracy, to a Texas convention subsequent month at which Trump is likewise slated to speak. And in a lovely coda to Tuesday's listening to, Committee Vice Chair Liz Cheney, a Wyoming Republican, stated that Trump had positioned a name to a witness now no longer but visible with inside the hearings in a likely case of tried tampering that has been mentioned the Justice Department. Beneath the floor of U.S. politics, this persevering with attempt to undermine American establishments and the guideline of thumb of regulation is displaying that Trump's danger to democracy failed to result in 2021. Whatever effect the committee has at the ex-president's destiny, political prospects, and whether or not or now no longer he finally ends up going through crook charges, there is of experience that even as documenting Trump's beyond transgressions, the committee is likewise racing to maintain up together along with his new ones. The subtext of Tuesday's listening to turned into an attempt to reveal a seam of a long-way right-wing extremism that exists under the floor of American political lifestyles through questions on the armed forces, fashion, schooling and aspirations of the Oath Keepers. In retrospect, Trump's common equivocations approximately such radicals and white supremacist organizations and his violence-laced rhetoric at rallies stumble upon because the sluggish legitimation of using violence to sell a political end. His incitement reached its apex on January 6, 2021. This is in particular horrifying because it mirrors the procedures of overseas despots and extremists in fractured societies overseas wherein democracy failed. And there is no signal that the ex-president could abandon this stew of extremism in a destiny political marketing campaign. His beyond behavior shows precisely the opposite. The impact that turned into left from Tuesday's listening to, especially the information of a heated Oval Office meeting in December 2020, turned into now no longer simply that Trump turned into with inside the thrall of fans with ridiculous plans to scouse borrow the election. He turned into one himself. And it raised the query, in particular on account that greater mainstream participants of his internal circle have now damaged with him to testify approximately the quality of individuals who could surround the ex-president if he succeeds in a quest to reclaim electricity in 2024. Tuesday's listening to additionally implicitly raised the query of why participants of such extremist organizations have confronted justice for his or her moves on January 6 in more than one courtroom docket instances, even as the previous president keeps to prevent felony sanctions for incitement.